Welcome to Coffee with Keesja. I'm your host, Keesja Gofers. Now, from episode 1, you all loved it, and we heard you screaming, we want more, so here we are. And we were thinking, as you know, each episode is on a different topic. And the guests that we have either worked in, currently work in, have dabbled in, or just know a lot about the topic. And we were thinking, when planning for today, what topic are we going to do? What career is so interesting and engaging that our audience is going to absolutely love it? And we thought, nah, scrap all those. Let's go with accounting. Now, before you turn this off, the 3 guys that we have today can talk underwater. And they've convinced me that they will convince all of you how amazing accounting is. Now let's welcome our guests. Our first guest is Millsy, Craig Miller. Millsy is a dual Olympian. He competed for Australia at the Sydney 2000 and Athens 2004 Olympics. His international career spans 13 years and his club career for Cronulla even longer. Today, he is a chartered accountant, and according to their website, he is the face of Smallco. Now, you'll still see Millsy around the pool, coaching his kids and using some of the drills he learned as a Tamworth junior under the coach, Ron Surtee. Welcome, Millsy.
Thank you, Keesja. It's a pleasure to be here, and you know you're in trouble when I'm the face of anything.
So. Next up, we have Nick Falzon. Nick competed at the Commonwealth Games for Australia, where they won a silver medal. He also won a silver medal at the Junior World Championships in 1999. Nick is a director at PKF Australia and has worked there for 10 years. But he has been at Balmain even longer. Nick was in the first National League team for Balmain and has played 301 National League games for the Tigers. And despite all of this, he still found it in his heart of hearts to hire Des Moines Devil, AJ Roach, to work for his team. Welcome, Nick.
Thanks, Keesja.
AJ is a dual Olympian, competing at the London 2012 and Rio 2016 Olympics. He debuted for the national team in 2009. And now, 11 years later, he's done the math. And he's realized that he's pretty good at it and decided he wants to be an accountant too. AJ is currently training for the Tokyo Olympics and working in Nick's team at PKF. Welcome, AJ.
Thanks very much. Yeah, I don't know how Nick gave me a start, but here we are. Thank God.
Get into that. We'll get into that. Okay, so everyone, let's jump straight into the first question. How did your playing career shape your professional career? And what are some skills, maybe that impressive memory, that you've learned along the way that you're able to apply? So we'll just go around. You guys can discuss, whoever wants to jump in first.
Sure, thanks. I might start. So my playing career, I was very fortunate almost all the way through my career that I've been given a lot of hand-ups and a lot of help out by people that have been associated with water polo. And it started way back when Ron Surtee, who you mentioned a little bit earlier, helped me get into water polo. But then through the AIS, I joined a program that was an Olympic program and got a job with Ernst & Young through that. So that enabled me to only work about 30 hours a week and have periods off where I could go and play overseas. And it's kind of worked for me all the way through my career to the current job that I've been in now for about 15 years. Believe it or not, I was in the interview with 2 men that I'd never met before, and one of them said, I know Peter Kerr very well. Right. And I know Chris Harrison very well. Would you mind if I use a reference for them? Get a reference from them. So water polo has been fantastic for me in the relationships that I've built and having people that have supported me all the way along. Up until the fact that on Monday I was having a chat with our lawyer and we started talking about kids, and she said her child was playing water polo with Waverley College, and turns out that she was a state-based player as well. So it just keeps popping up all the way through my career. It's been incredibly helpful all the way through. I've been really, really lucky. Amazing.
Amazing that people that you don't know, you know, the people that you had that interview with actually knew, you know, the 3 degrees of separation.
Absolutely. And the thing that I found too is that water polo people are so generous and they want to help other water polo people because you're just so like-minded. So I'd encourage anyone that is younger to have a bit of a chat around the water polo circles, and you'll find there's a plethora of people that are able and willing to help out. So
awesome. Nick, what about you?
Well, first of all, I'd echo a couple of comments that Millsy made. I mean, for a apparently small participation sport, it's uncanny how often you run into someone who either has played water polo or knows a very good water polo player well. And I've had a lot of those sort of opportune meetings throughout my career, which have been terrific. And again, as Millsy said, it's the type of sport where we do have a real affection for it, and so people have been very, very happy to help me along the way. But my first job was actually unofficially part of that same Olympic job opportunity program in '99. I wasn't in the national squad. I was in the second tier squad that existed at the time, having just come out of the junior team. So I couldn't be formally part of the program. But the fellow Ross Ellis-Flint, who was, or still is, an accountant here in town, Ellis-Flint and Co. He was very happy to take me on. Very, very casual working or flexible working arrangements, almost like a casual job, but I kind of got to pick my own hours. So that was a really nice leg into the profession. Amusingly, I find it now amusing. My intention was to work just to work while I played, but then I always intended to move into a career in advertising or marketing of some description. But I really enjoyed the accounting. The work suited me. The style of how you get your job done suited me. And again, the things that I was able to gain from my sporting career did give me a lot of leverage in there. Some opportunities to work overseas, some great networking opportunities. So it's remained very, very integral to what I do. Both the lessons I learned from some fantastic mentors I had, some people I've picked up as great mentors along the way, and having those sounding boards through my career, and I'm sure I will for many, many years to come. Both younger and older people, and people my age.
Awesome.
Yeah, probably my story with work is probably starting off where the boys just left off about how they all got their first start. I just met up with Nick for a coffee probably 6-7 months ago, just to touch base and chat about things, and then ended up coming here, finished my internship, and then working on. So, like water polo's got a great network, and people, like they said, are always willing to help out, and whether it's with work or whether it's with sport or life. I've got so many friends that I can just reach out to anytime I want to touch base and use it as a sounding board. So very lucky to be involved in such a great community, and hopefully keep being involved in it for the rest of my life. So we'll just see how it goes.
Absolutely. So Nick, you kind of touched on it. What drew you to accounting? And I suppose, accounting gets a bit of a bad rap for being a boring profession. So this is all of your chance to convince everyone that it's fun, it's engaging, it's a job that you can just get the job done, whatever you want. What really drew you to accounting? Why do you love it? We can start with you again, Mills, if you want.
Yeah, sure thing. So it's an interesting thing that in my HSC, I did advanced mathematics and a bunch of, did physics and chemistry and engineering science. So I was always numerate, not very good at English. So I was never going to be a lawyer. I was always going to do something that was involved with numbers. And then I was signed up to do chemistry at Sydney University. And a week before I was about to go, I got a call from the AIS and asked if I wanted to play water polo, and I said absolutely. So I dropped everything and went down to Canberra and looked around, and the only course that was left was a Bachelor of Economics course. So that's how I started my journey.
So no one else wanted to do it? That was the only spot available.
Still plenty of vacancies.
I suppose the lesson there is that it's really hard. Everyone at 18 or 17 expects that they know exactly what they were going to do for the rest of their life. But as Nick said, he wanted to do marketing, and I was off to do pharmacy. But I managed to find accounting, and I really actually do really love it. And I know it gets a really bad rap, but I've always been very fortunate to work in accounting roles where I was always learning how businesses were run, what the structures were, getting back to first principles, which I really get a kick out of, and going through the mechanics of everything, and meeting some wonderful business people along the way. I worked in Canberra where the clients that I had were some of the biggest business people in the Canberra area. And I've sort of held those skills all the way through. So I've always loved that aspect of it, meeting very smart people, good business people, knowing the first principles. And you know, as sad as it sounds, reading the Fin Review and finding out and understanding exactly what ticks in the business world. So that's why I was drawn to it, and why I still feel very much engaged with the career.
Awesome. Nick, over to you.
Yeah, you might have to switch the order around because I keep saying, as Millsy said, which can get a bit boring. But one of the challenges for the accounting profession has also been a little bit of a godsend for us in that the automation of a lot of work, what the accounting softwares can do nowadays. A lot of what the work that accountants have had to do in the past that, to be honest, was quite boring and quite dull and quite monotonous, that doesn't really exist anymore. So that, for people like me, that certainly helps. With a relatively short attention span at times, doing the same thing over and over again wouldn't really work. But similar, I've had a lot of luck working with some really, really good people. Ross, that I mentioned earlier, my first boss was a terrific fellow, often, you know, the life of the party, very, very focused when he needed to be at work, and that kind of set a bit of a tone for me. And coming back to the analogies with sport, some of the people you always enjoy playing with, they're ferociously competitive, incredibly serious, the type of person that would just scream at you for making a mistake at training. But when you don't need to be serious, that they're not, and they, at the end of the day, don't take themselves too seriously. It's a set of common traits that I really appreciate, and I've had a lot of people like that I've worked with. A lot of people like that I've worked for. A lot of my clients that they expect you to be 100% right and to be very, very prepared for your meetings and for the work you've got to do, but they don't think they're any better than you just because they're paying the bills. So that combination, which you do, I think if you plan your career the right way, you can certainly find that in accounting. There's a lot of firms that operate on that basis. A lot of internal finance teams at companies that work on that basis, and a lot of clients out there that'll treat you with that level of respect. It makes your days demanding but very rewarding, and so I've always enjoyed that with accounting. Sounds strange, doesn't it, given the rap that accountants get, to say that it's all the people stuff that I really like, but it is. That's how I've always found the profession to be honest.
That's cool.
I don't know, am I living on dreamland, KJ? We really like that out there. Or
No. It's probably similar to the boys. I probably like more sort of the side where you have to problem solve. So when you get a company in, just sort of setting up the company, trying to work out the best way to minimise their tax or to help them out. Sort of problem solving on that side of things where, you know, I'm still learning, so I'm not quite anywhere near that stage yet, but, you know, it's good to get in.
There's just more time taken to solve the problem.
Yeah, a lot more time at the moment. But yeah, so at the moment, you know, I'm just, you know, I'm learning a lot here, and, you know, it's got an excellent team here. Nick has all the guys who I work with always willing to give me a hand and help me out. So it's been really good transition, and that's probably more the side that I like, you know, interacting with the co-workers, learning how to solve the problems, and, you know, getting the job done at the end of the day.
Awesome.
Hopefully in a timely manner.
Okay, well, that leads me to Nick. So you used to verse AJ, obviously, and by all accounts, he's a, you know, tough opposition. So now that you're his boss, you've taken him under your wing. What do you think that's like? You know, have the tables turned? Is he a good employee? Give us the dirt.
We only played a couple of games ever against each other. The first year that AJ played National League, Drummond didn't have a side on the comp yet, so he actually came and played with us at Balmain. So I'm pretty sure we played together in your first ever game of National League.
Wow.
So, and then I didn't play for much longer after that, and AJ's the type of player I would have avoided a fair bit during the game. I was pretty good at that, managing to avoid the tough marks in the other team. But No, look, it's yeah. I mean, I know you made a light-hearted comment when we started the introductions. Or I think Hume was light-hearted. You know, there's a fair bit of water under the bridge between Balmain and Drummoyne, and myself and a couple of people over there in particular. But it's a very small community, water polo, and it's great to have him as part of the team here. It's you know, we're very parochial about our clubs, which is terrific. I mean, I bleed black and gold, but it's certainly if it's a matter of doing something with someone within the water polo community, it's just terrific. It's great to have him in here. It gives me a wonderful link still to the sport and hear what's going on. I don't think he's quite as intense in his accounting work as he is in the polo pool, which is quite appropriate because
that'd be a lot.
That would be a bit scary for everyone. But he has a great focus to what he does. He likes to be good at what he does, and that comes through.
Well, Millsy, you touched on how you got your start because of people that you knew. Why do you think people or employees like Nick has, or like other employees, should hire elite athletes? What special skill set do you think that they bring to their professional careers?
Focus. So I think the most important thing that someone can have in life if they want to be successful is focus. Resilience. So I know in my career there was a lot of times I didn't make teams, or we lost a game that we thought we should have won, and you've got to dust yourself off and get up and play again the next day, or even sometimes that afternoon. I think the urge to win and the urge to compete is very important as well. So if an elite athlete, like for like, if I had an elite athlete or someone else that hadn't had that kind of experience, in a New York minute, you'd pick the elite athlete, just from the simple fact that you know that they've gone through a lot of trials and tribulations and have been tested along the way to get to where they've gotten to. So it's not for everyone doing the 6 or 7 hours a day of training, but you certainly know that if someone's done that for an extended period of time and made it at a very elite level, that they certainly have a lot of focus, a lot of resilience, and a real will to win. So I think it's very important.
When I'm applying for jobs, I'll put you down as a referral, hey?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, guys, we'll shift topics. You've all played overseas. Nick, you played in Malta, Millsy in Spain, AJ, Hungary, Serbia, Montenegro, and there might be others that I've missed in there. But, at the moment we have some Cap 7 Aussie Sharks playing overseas as well. What would you say, to young athletes wanting to play overseas? Did it help your water polo career? Did it help your professional career? Or did it hinder either of these? And let's start with Nick this time.
Okay. I think it did. But as I say, I think it did. But kind of once I finished playing in Malta, I stopped playing. If I was an elite player, I certainly stopped playing after that. I was hopefully a very good club player, but so I was going to I had a wonderful coach over there, so that's probably a good start. And also, but personally, it was one of the best things I've ever done. I mean, some of my greatest friends are still over there. I was chatting with a few of them this morning when I was on my way to work. This year we couldn't go because of COVID, but the family and I, the last few years, spent the better part of July living over there, which is just wonderful. And a lot of my closest mates are the guys I played with over there, our kids and our friends. And I just love being able to get back over there. The way the culture is over there, the sport is very central to their lifestyle, particularly over summer. So certainly helped my career again indirectly. I was able to do a bit of work over there the first year that I went over. I was on a very, very low or very small contract, so they were able to supplement that by giving me some work in the accounts department of the hotel that our club president owns. That was very nice. And again, it's given me some great contacts. I am the go-to person when people do need an accountant in Malta. It's a little bit hard to find, but I do know them well. So yeah, look, my time overseas mostly was personally extremely rewarding, and has continued to be for me will be for the rest of my life. Millsy touched on earlier that, you know, sometimes we're in a bit of a rush to decide what it is we want to do for the rest of our life, and you kind of figure it out a bit later. I think that's something that the Americans actually do really well. You know, you go off to spend 4 years at college, and then you kind of start thinking about what you're going to do. And so, as I say, I know it wasn't actually the question you asked, but that is something that I do love seeing people. So many athletes seem to do nowadays, and so many of the young kids seem to do. And just, as I say, I think that personally, professionally, water polo was as well. If you can get into a decent school, it's just fantastic.
Perfect. That's good advice for athletes coming up. AJ, what about you?
Yeah, I probably didn't do it the best way that I should have done it. Like when I was at school, I pretty much just focused on water polo the whole time, and then my whole goal was basically just to get overseas and play professionally. And you know, looking back, it wasn't very wise, because I came back basically after the Rio Olympics, and then I just literally thought to myself, shit, what's next? What am I going to do? And that's when I decided to go back to uni and start to study. And then after that, I sort of, you know, started to snowball, and then here I am now. So on that side of things, I didn't do it personally the best way, but then I know players like Aaron Younger, who's done it amazingly. He's played at good clubs his whole career. He's got a double degree. He's got an MBA, and I think he's just about to finish or start his CFA. So it can be done and it can help, but one side of things that do really help, I think, is the communication side. Obviously, when you go overseas, it's quite tough to communicate with your teammates, meet new people, sort of put yourself out there to inject yourself in that sort of community. And I think those communication skills do really help when you do enter the workforce. And from those skills, like you heard from Nick, you obviously get good connections. Like he's done a lot of accounting work in Malta now. So putting yourself out there and amongst it, you know, gives you a lot of connections. It helps you, you know, learn a lot about yourself when you're over there, and also learn a lot about people and other cultures. So I do think there's pros and cons to everything. Like I didn't do it the best way, but I do think a lot of things throughout my career I thought probably helped me to be better when I did and am eventually joining the workforce.
I guess it kind of shows, you know, there is not just one way to do things. So yeah, you say it's not the best way, but it was your way, you know? You did one thing and now you kind of do both a little bit later on.
Yeah, and I don't wouldn't say nothing tough on yourself, but sometimes, again, people sometimes are in a bit of a rush. You know, no one at the end of your career, you're not going to look back and sort of assess yourself on where you were, you know, when you're 25 or 27. You know, we work for a long time, hopefully, and you hopefully enjoy doing it. And if you feel like contemporaries are a little bit ahead of you at a particular point, there's plenty of time to catch it who was the best player when you were 14, because you know, they did all this sort of stuff when they were 12, 13, 14. But then they stop playing when they're 15. Now, your career is not so different, your working career. I mean, Millsy, you took a significant move when you went from, if I recall, you're at GE, weren't you, before you moved to Smallco? And that was, at the time, if I recall correctly, a significant step because it's a bit of a different tack in your career. Is that? It's kind of relevant. I think it's relevant to what we're talking about here. Do I remember any of that right?
That's fair. I'd concur with Nick, AJ, in the sense that, you know, maybe you could have done a little bit of a better job in having something ticking away in the background. But I found that water polo and playing overseas really didn't slow my career down. I sort of jumped in at a level when I finished water polo that wasn't that far behind my peers. The time that you're talking about, Nick, was that I took quite a significant pay cut. I was head of tax compliance for Australia and New Zealand at GE, and ended up walking into this job that I've got at the moment, which was with the two founders. And the business at the time was barely break even when I started here. So I took quite a significant pay decrease. With a big organisation, something like GE, you're a small cog in a big machine, but here I felt everything that I did had an impact. It was like playing water polo again, where if you do something really well, you get an instant feel that, okay, I really contributed in that quarter, I contributed in that game. So yeah, no, that was the best thing I ever did, was go and work at a smaller organisation where I had an impact on that organisation.
Awesome. Yeah, so Millsy, you talk about celebrating those little wins. Now, Nick, you were known to claim a few goals in your time, so little wins. So, let's talk about claiming.
Okay, yeah.
What do we think about it? I know, AJ, you like to claim as well. Talk about your technique, what works, what do you think it does for the team? Just go crazy on talking about claiming.
Yeah, you go. You certainly lead off on this one, AJ.
You should see me around the office whenever I complete a tax return. I'm walking around.
It's a skill that you're putting from your professional career, from your water polo career. It's good. I like it.
No, I'm a big fan of claiming. Why play the sport in the first place if you're not going to enjoy it? You know what I mean? For me, especially in a big game, you score a big goal, or you make even if your teammate scores a big goal, you got to let that emotion out somehow. And when you do let that emotion out, I feel it gives everyone a lift. Everyone's about it. I'm just in the water, especially when my teammates are playing. I think Joe scored a goal against Hungary last year to draw it up in South Korea, and I think I was the loudest one in the pool to claim it. That's the way it should be. We should be getting around each other and supporting each other and claiming it. And then for me, it just brings a lot more enjoyment.
Awesome.
Millsy?
It's a new term for me, claiming. But, if I look back I wasn't a big claimer myself. I was
that thing you used to do with your cheeks when you puffed them out, that wasn't claiming the goals. That was just throw the ball. You'd throw the ball in about 100 miles an hour and puff his cheeks out. And I thought that was you claiming the goal.
No, not quite, mate. No, I couldn't control that. So I was pretty subdued when I played. So always.
You did score that many goals, Millsy, that if you claimed every single one, your shoulder would have been even worse than it was by the end of your career.
I wish it was the case, Nick. I wish it was the case.
But no, Keisha, I will acknowledge guilty as charged. I was certainly I certainly loved scoring goals. I didn't score a whole lot particularly, but I did certainly enjoy it.
Awesome. Okay, Millsy, you grew up in Tamworth. How would you say that this impacted your water polo career and your professional career?
Yeah, good question. So I grew up, I suppose geographically there was a difference, but it was also, I grew up with a single mum, so my dad left pretty early on. So my brother and I had to fend for ourselves more or less while mum was working. She was a nurse, so she was working shifts quite a bit. So I think that probably had a bigger impact, that and the fact that, my brother and I, if it was a weekend, we'd leave home in the morning and we would literally be walking out of the front of our house with a motorcycle and a little slug gun in a pair of shorts and thongs across the paddocks, and we wouldn't come back till night. So as far as being independent, I caught a train down to Sydney from Tamworth for an interview when I was 15 years old overnight. I was always given freedom, and I always behaved, I guess, appropriately at most times. So when I came to play sports, I would listen to the coaches. If they gave me direction, I could work autonomously, I could work by myself. And I was always very aware of the contribution that people were making, and I was always really appreciative of getting trips away and things like that. So I was always very, very hungry to trying to get more, because I never wanted anything when I grew up, but we didn't have much, I guess. So.
It's a great story. I don't know if many people would have known that. Okay, now in doing this show, I did some research, obviously. And Nick, you have a passion for cooking. If anyone has seen Nick's Facebook, he has Nick's Kitchen, which is, I think, about a weekly occurrence. So Nick, tell us about your passion for cooking. Tell us what was for dinner last night. This is your chance to tell everyone, that you are more than an accountant, more than a water polo player. You are a fancy chef.
Well, I don't know, fancy chef's probably a bit generous, but I do certainly love cooking. Last night was a fennel crusted pork, fennel crusted pork fillet on a bit of cabbage, which got three thumbs up.
That's the rating? It's either thumbs up or thumbs down.
Yeah, I know. It's definitely that gets Nick's Kitchen does get its share of thumbs down. It wasn't that long ago. I went for a spaghetti ragu, which I really was looking forward to this. I thought it was a good recipe, and my youngest daughter Alexa described it as tasting like raw meat with water. So that was kind, but honest. So no, look, it's something I really do enjoy. I'm a very strict recipe follower. I'm not a natural chef by any means, but it's a little bit of, I guess, a creative outlet for me. Because I have to focus so hard when I'm cooking, because I really need to concentrate, otherwise it's going to be a disaster. It does help me take my mind off work or whatever else is on my mind, because I really do have to concentrate 100% on those recipes. But I do very much enjoy it. It's something that the family, we get a real kick out of being able to spend time together or comment on how the cooking is. I'm not the main cook in the house. Rowena cooks a lot more often than I do.
Just more public.
But what's that, sorry? Yeah. I see Nick tell everybody. Yeah, mate, I don't know. Maybe it's similar to that we were talking about claiming goals before. Yeah, the team scored 10 goals. Nick got one of them, but geez, his celebration was good, wasn't it? We all remember.
Basically, yeah, your motto for life.
That's Nick's Kitchen. And again, the water polo link, a couple of my favourite chefs in the world, Dojarakis and chick called Francesco Cataya, who's a great mate of mine over in Malta, has, in my opinion, the best restaurant in Europe. They both give me some comments and tips on my technique when they watch it on Facebook, which is very, very amusing, considering, as I say, they're, in my opinion, two of the best chefs going around and two great water polo people.
Very cool. AJ, have you followed in your boss's footsteps? What is your creative outlet? Do you have one?
Not really. Well, my girlfriend does most of the cooking at home, so whenever I do, it's usually very plain. Like, I'll just do like vegetables and steak, or chicken and steak. Chicken and veggies. It's always really
chicken and steak. That is the protein. I like it.
Yeah, that protein hit. Yeah. So I don't know. I haven't quite found the creative outlet yet. Maybe it's just like Nick. Mine's just claiming more goals.
Different way to claim. It'll be your creative outlet. Awesome. All right. So the last thing we're going to do is the rapid fire questions. So these are quick answers. First thing you think of. We'll go around Millsy, Nick, AJ, and then the next question, AJ, Nick, Millsy, and again, Millsy, Nick, AJ. So the first question, really easy, more like a practice. What is your coffee order? Go.
Cappuccino, very hot, with a dash of sugar. Very boring, as you'd expect from a Tamworth.
All right, Nick.
Strong 3/4 cappuccino with almond milk.
Wow, okay, and AJ?
Just almond latte. Probably going to get hammered for that at training.
At least it's not weak almond milk latte.
With a little bit of chocolate. All right, next question. What is your karaoke song? So you're going to blurt this one out. It's your go-to song when you're at karaoke. AJ, go.
Only the Good Die Young, Billy Joel.
Okay, nice. Nick.
Yeah, got to be the fighter with Rowena singing Carrie's part on that one.
The duo, very good. And Mills.
Yeah. Anything I know the words to, I don't mind to sing along after a couple of drinks, but probably The Gambler, Kenny Rogers.
Great. Okay, last one. Millsy, you'll start. So who would play you in the movie of your life?
Gee, it'd be a short movie. So my kids and my wife think that I'm a dead ringer for, when I had hair, a dead ringer for Will Ferrell. So without the humour, Will Ferrell.
Without the humour, isn't he all about the humour?
Yeah, but he's not a very good-looking man, and neither am I. That's where the similarity exists.
All right, very good. Nick?
Well, I think every bloke who's follically challenged thinks they look like Jason Stratham, don't they? So I'd be really happy if he played, mate.
Nice. AJ?
Is Chewbacca an actor or not? Is that?
Yeah, I know. I'm not sure if the costume's still around. Is it like Chewbacca with a shaved head? You reckon, Pilsy?
Probably
playing you?
Yeah, probably someone. I don't know. Probably Ben Affleck, just because he's got the same hair color and probably the same height. So
Okay.
pretty boring, but yeah.
I don't know if Ben
Give
Affleck is
myself a bit of a cut there as well. He's not a bad type either. So
awesome. Sound like great movies. All right, guys. Well, that is everything. Thank you guys so much for jumping on Coffee with Keesja. It was an absolute pleasure, and I know that I learned a lot about you guys and a lot about accounting. And it doesn't sound so bad. So yeah, thank you for jumping on.
Thank you, Keesja. Really fun. Thank you.